very smoothly. So in its phase, what my project actually does is it actually captures the packets. So the packet also have an extension. It is called pcap file, and from this pcap file, a single pcap file actually consists of more than 100 GB or 500 GB for like 1 hour or 2 hours. Storing all the data is not appropriate. So for that, we actually need to filter out the necessary data, which is quite useful for the analysis team. So after filtering the data, you actually, the pcap file, you can actually extract the data which is necessary for every organization. So few organizations have few guidelines to capture the particular data, and this data can be varied accordingly to the organization to organization. And few tools that are available online doesn't have the database, which is quite expensive, and it is actually quite hard to implement for smaller organizations. Bigger organizations have the money and they can actually do get the tools which are available online. And what my system does is it actually stores that required data into the database, and it automatically alerts the network administrator who are actually bypassing few regulations and guidelines which are implemented, which are actually stated by the organization. Uh, so the process goes like this. So in the network monitoring phase, after capturing the data which is going through the internet, you can actually capture the data using the Wireshark, which is a free tool that can be used by everyone. So using that tool, you can actually get a pcap file, and you can automate this process by writing the Python scripts, which are quite long but can be actually implemented by anyone. So after capturing the packet files, we actually apply the filters. Actually, the Wireshark has few filters, but actually learning that and implementing continuously implementing that can be quite hard for the smaller organizations. The main criteria that I'm focusing on is about the quite small organizations or the individuals who are going to implement this system. So after applying the packets, we can actually extract the necessary details which you can actually push onto the database. Every data that is going to push it to the database is actually a data that is bypassed, or someone is going to bypass the systems that are available to the organizations. So for that, every data that is going to the database in here is the data which is misguided or illegal use of a user or the insider threat. So after going to the database, the program that I have written actually automatically alerts the user via Gmail. So for the implementation, first of all, the network traffic is captured. Later, the filtering of the captured files is done. Later, the extracting relevant information is done after the filtering of the packet files. So this process actually stores into the database, which finally gives the alerts to the system administrator. So here is the project implementation. So if there is anyone who is related to the computer science, they can actually relate these libraries which are actually present in this Python. So this CAPI library is quite famous for the network analysis tool, and the PyBloom live filter is usually used to filter huge amounts of IP addresses. So actually, filtering is done by using the IP addresses and the network ports, which is done by this project here. And in order to connect the database to this process, I actually use the MariaDB. Uh, and after that, for the email notification, I actually used email library, which is readily available for in the Python language. And the data that is shown in the Gmail can be actually seen in a tabulation form. So yeah, so here are the packages that which I have loaded before implementing the project. So you can actually check here. Every library has been imported for the particular use in this project. After that, I actually written a Flash code to actually simulate the web application so that the user can get a real user interface which can be quite interactive for the users which are going to be coming new. And this is all related to the filtering of the packets. If anyone wants to know about this, you can actually, I actually have a GitHub link. You can actually download the project from there and you can actually implement on your own. I have actually written the guidelines on how to install my project in your systems. You can actually go on and check that. So here is the database representation which I implemented. This is actually a structure that I am using for the database. So the fields that I'm going to capture from the pcap files are the ID, the source IP. The source IP is the IP that you are when you are going to the Google and when you are searching for anything, it actually had a particular IP. The source IP is the destination IP that you are going to search for, and for that, for every for every IP address, there is actually few ports which are actively available. There are few ports which are vulnerable. If you have a network which and the ports are open, the attacker can easily bypass that ports and actually steal the data, which is quite informative and personal. So here is the source of IP addresses and the destination IP addresses that I have captured using this project. So see, you can actually see the ports that are given here, and these are the IP addresses that the users or the insiders actually trying to access this destination IP address, which is illegal or banned in particular organizations. So it can actually give the necessary details so that the network administrator can take the action quite fastly based on the IP address. So he can actually trace the IP address from here and he can actually block or inform the higher ones who are responsible or going to take charge against him. And you can actually see the timestamps. Actually, you can modify the fields that you want to capture, but it is going to be quite interactive. So you don't want to miss any of the ports or any of the timestamps or the protocols which are present here. And again, if a packet length is more than 1500, the data that is going to or going over the network is actually like huge. But for that, you can actually filter these packet lengths also so that you can actually see where the network or the data amounts which are going. So this is the interface that I've created. This is actually an easy interface which I done using the Flask. So from here you can actually take the network traffic pcap file and you can actually submit here. After submitting it, it actually gives the results immediately within a 2 or 5 seconds. So you can actually see the IP addresses are being captured and the destination and the related source ports are being captured and the amounts of data that is actually sent by the particular insider or the attacker. So this data is quite actually familiar with the network administrators. Actually, they can see this quite useful rather than the normal persons which are going common. So after that, the network administrator actually gets an email of like this. See, Actually, I got an email which is automated after submitting the PCAP file. See, here are the network IP addresses that are actually presented here, and the network administrator easily can block or inform the higher ups about the source of the destination IP a particular person is actually going to pursue. Yeah, so this is about the implementation of my final year project, which is quite useful. And now I'm going to later I'm going to publish a paper on this, so you can actually check it later. Yeah, so thank you. And if you have any doubts, you can ask me. Yeah, yeah. Mm, Rajmahendra. Yeah, 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 yeah. Thank you, sir. Yes. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, everyone.